Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Film Seizure. I am Jeff Arbuckle. With me, as always, Chuck Moore. Chuck, how's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Jason Oliver, the third angle of our triangle. How's it going?
I am aperific.
Yeah. So we have entered a new month. We've got ourselves yet another theme month. We kind of wanted to do this for a little bit in this year after we crossed the 300 line, and this one's near and dear to my heart, guys. This is April. APE-ril. Goddamn DC Comics stole that from me, I swear to God. Anyway.
They read your mind.
Yeah, I know.
That's next week.
But yeah, so we got a month of Planet of the Apes movies, because there's, just like with last month with March Madness, we have a new movie in the franchise coming along. And I want to point out the word franchise, and I'm specifically going to talk about that next week. But I think it's kind of an interesting element to this, and I think there's an interesting kind of trivia answer to that. To a certain trivia question, there's an answer to it that is Planet of the Apes. But we have to start with 1968's Planet of the Apes.
Do we have to? I'm kidding.
I mean, we should.
Probably. I mean, I have a feeling it's going to be as good as it gets this week, or this month is this week. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, I think we should definitely start here, because I'm not sure it gets better.
I'm certainly not sure that it's going to be any better this week than the movie we've got this week, which is Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Yes. So
yes, that's one of the point I'm making. Yep.
Well, no, I think you misspoke and said this week instead of this month, and I was like,
I don't think it's going to get any better than this week, this month.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. You're probably right. I think that's probably the general consensus. Although when we get later in the month, I think the best sequel is towards the end of this month.
Well, good.
So, because I think there is something kind of interesting about that, and it does kind of tie into the recent series a little bit. So, not that it's meant to be, continuity wise, but it's very similar to some of the ones that we've seen over the last 15 years or so. But yes, so 1968's Planet of the Apes. I'm just gonna say this again. I unabashedly love these movies. It's something I grew up with. It was one of those, just like with Godzilla, it would play a lot on regular TV. There was a TV series that would every now and then get its opportunity to run. I know for a little while, MeTV would show the TV series from the mid-70s a lot. And since there were only like a few episodes of that, or 13.
I was going to ask, it didn't run very long, I guess.
No, it did not. I think it was one of those things where not very good reviews, not very many people watched it, and it was also kind of expensive. But it was and then there was a cartoon. I don't remember seeing too many of the cartoons. Interestingly, the TV show and the cartoons is a little bit more in line with the book that this is based on, which I have read.
You read a book?
Wow, that's on a short list. That's on a short list.
Yep, I read this, a couple of Bond books, and Dracula, and that's about it.
Dang.
It's funny that you've only read books based on media you already liked.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Really.
Yeah, it does. It's just funny. Yeah. I'm usually the opposite.
Yeah.
So, so I guess I can kind of run down. Well, I'll run down the book here in a few minutes. But, so I mean, this is a relatively significant movie in the sense that, like it had a pretty decent sized budget for 1968 at almost $6 million. It made a bunch of money. It's got it's got Charlton Heston in it, which is, that's not an insignificant get.
He was pretty small time though. Then I mean, it wasn't until Tombstone that everybody loved.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Oh, that's a callback.
Wow, that's a good callback.
This is why I forget everything useful, because I remember stuff like that.
Oh man.
But yeah, so but this is co-written, or at least a version of the script came from Rod Serling. And there is a really, really good explanation of that based on the book. And this does do a lot of the same. Well, this, like the book, has a surprise ending. There's a big difference between what Franklin J. Schaffner, the director of this movie, did compared to what fucking
who
Tim
by the
Burton
way,
did.
who by the way became a pretty big time director.
Yeah,
he had a pretty big run after this of Patton.
Yeah, he won the
Nicholas
Oscar
and
for that.
Yeah, Nicholas and Alexandra, Papillon, Islands in the Stream, The Boys from Brazil.
Yeah, and
all like pretty well regarded movies.
Yep. Also, Nicholas and Alexandra, the dashing gentleman playing Rasputin is Tom Baker, the most famous doctor.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between how Schaffner plays with the sandbox compared to the 2001 version that Tim Burton did, and we're not going to go any further than that about the Tim Burton, because that's a bad movie.
I don't really think we ever really need to cover that, do we?
Nope.
We don't need to watch that ever again, right?
Nope.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
That's my 2-word review of
Yeah.
it.
Just like Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
I actually kind of have warmed to Mars Attacks over the years, but
well, there is a
it's still not a
campiness
good
to it.
movie. Yeah.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, you can sit there and say, why the hell are they doing this?
Yeah.
What is the purpose behind this scene or this moment? Anyway. So so now, Jason, you had mentioned that you hadn't seen probably too many of these movies, but this was one that you definitely had seen.
Yes, I have seen this. In fact, I've seen this recently. Not for the first time recently, but I've watched it again recently, because I think all these movies have ended up on Criterion Channel at one point in the last year or so.
This one definitely had been at one point.
And I watched this one with the intention of watching them all, and not. I just rewatched this one. I like this movie. It's a little hokey at times. I think it drags in the middle. But it's got all like these beats that I remember. Like, this was the one I definitely remember seeing as a kid. If I've seen any parts of the sequels, maybe that'll come to me in flashes of memory as we revisit them. But this one I know well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck, what was your past with this one?
I mean, this was on TV all the time, and the stinger at the end, like, well, it's played throughout my life because I'm a big fan of Spaceballs too.
Well, between Spaceballs and Simpsons, this really worked itself into the lexicon.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of this one. I think I've seen the sequels throughout my life, but watching two today was a totally different experience than I remember. So we'll get to that next week.
Tell me about
next week. This movie, I really liked the underlying theme to, science versus religion and all that. Mm-hmm. So I really take to a lot of that. So the hokiness wasn't as bad for me. Like, it is a little hokey, but I overlook it.
Well, I think I think it is part of it. I mean, I think part of that hokiness is of its time, and this is a G-rated movie.
Which I don't know how. How's this G-rated movie?
I don't get it either.
How?
It's at least PG-13 to me.
Well, there wouldn't have been a PG-13 then, but there was a PG rating then, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how this isn't PG at least. I mean, there's cursing, there's naked ass. It's weird. This is a G-rated movie.
Yeah.
It would not be a G-rated movie today.
Oh, no. I mean, it would be a PG-13 movie for sure. But yeah, it's, but I mean, like, I think some of that hokiness is is some of the commentary is a little aged, right? Like telling the one kid, don't trust anybody over 30. It's kind of funny because of all the people in the movie that maybe shouldn't say something like that to a younger character.
Yeah.
It's Charlton Heston. But
yeah, that ages poorly for sure. Yeah.
He's cynical enough that I think he can get away with it. But yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's.
Well, you know what this kind of reminded me of? I don't know much about this story, but it was like when this theory of evolution was on trial.
Oh, yeah, the Scopes monkey tribe.
Yeah, the Inherit the Wind, I think, there were a couple movies based on it in a book, probably, or play, I think. This is kind of like Inherit the Wind, but with monkeys. Yeah. Like actual monkeys, right? Like that whole middle section of the movie is Inherit the Wind, but it's man that's on trial, not monkeys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's just, it's the role reversal, right? Yeah, because, I mean, it's, so, I guess I can talk well, no, I'll save the stuff about the novel later. That's because this is a movie podcast, not a book podcast.
That's right. So, damn it, and don't you forget it.
So the movie begins with Taylor, our lead character. He's really kind of telling you what type of person he is. I like the fact that really, for the most part, he's not. I mean, even
he's kind of an unhinged asshole.
Yeah, he kind of is. He totally is, because like
how's this guy a commander of a NASA ship? It's
right.
kind of wild.
Well, yeah, it's like he's just he was probably hired out of the Air Force, and he's like, I'd rather do this than go kill somebody, And
you have to be kind of a specific type of personality to actually know that you're going to come back home in 6 months and the Earth will be 700 years older. Like,
right.
That takes some kind of weird personality, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, because and he is, because he kind of breaks down like one guy, Dodge, he is purely scientific. So like he's almost like your Mr. Spock, right? Where it's like this, my thirst for knowledge is good enough for me to go away. Landon he's playing at it to be a hero. I don't think he fully understands what's happening here. Like, as far as like what that time dilation is going to do.
He couldn't have, or he wouldn't have reacted the way he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he had to have known. I just don't think he believed it because it was just a theory, right?
Well, he does say that. Yeah.
I just think he was willfully allowed himself to be willfully ignorant of it, just thinking that that can't be real. Like, that's some mumbo jumbo. But
yeah, I mean, he is certainly in the dressing down that he gets from Taylor. It's like you get the impression he's out there to be Captain America over this, right? Like he wants the ticker tape parade when they come home,
right?
And Taylor he despises the human race, which he's a misanthrope. And even when he's confronted with the fact that where they go, the humans are on the bottom and technically they do find something, well, he says something better than man. He clearly doesn't find that, but he finds a group of people who think they are.
Right.
And
I mean, he found Nova. I mean, well, she's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
She's the strong, silent type. Like, come on.
Yeah. and oh god, Linda Harrison, like once Zira kind of pairs them and her just kind of following him around until he's finally like, well, I guess I got you now. It's kind of the way she plays that. You really do think that she is like some, like Neanderthal type of character, right? Or a person. You don't really, because she doesn't speak. not in this movie at least. But anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, he is. It's like
Well, let's not forget about Stewart.
Oh yeah, Stewart, who was supposed to be the new Eve.
Well, yeah, what the hell does that mean, right? I mean, I know what it means,
I think
but they're
Taylor,
only supposed to be gone for 6 months. So what, are they expecting to come back?
No, I don't think Taylor expected to ever come back. I don't think he expected them to ever return.
I mean,
and certainly not after they crashed into the ocean.
He insinuates some pretty gross things, right?
Yeah, right. That they're gonna gang rape her.
She's gonna be the population source of the new world. But that implies, like, that line of thinking implies a lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she's there as a female safeguard for the human race in case they do extinct themselves while they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Which does kind of happen almost. Or that, they crash land somewhere and they need to repopulate that planet. Like, there's just so many weird scenarios that they put this beautiful blonde scientist on board for, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that,
And is, like, she bought into that? Is that part of, does she, like...
I think she cracked her glass on purpose.
I mean,
to get
right?
She's like, this fucking Taylor guy is nuts.
She's got one of those little, like window smashers if you, like, crash underwater, right?
Yeah.
She's like, she smuggled one of those on board. She's like, ting, ting. This is a one-way trip for me. Yeah. I don't want any part of these three weirdos.
Especially the guy who keeps smoking his cigars in our closed atmosphere cockpit.
Really? All right. Limited water. He's smoking a stogie in a desert.
But yeah, so he's. But even to the end of the movie, I don't think Taylor is. I mean, Taylor is right in the sense that he shouldn't be kept as a zoo animal or have his brain cut up or whatever. But he's not redeemed at all in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not redeemed next week either. He's not a redeemable character. He is not even an anti-villain or he's an anti-villain in the sense that he is a dick, but you're kind of forced to like him because he's the only thing you've got in this movie. If you're going to root for a human being. Sign me up for Cornelius and Zero. I'm on their side anyway.
Yeah, I mean that is who you root for in this movie, honestly. Yeah. I don't root for Taylor.
Hey, you can root for Nova. I mean, you can root for Nova because, I mean, she's
just kind of, you pity Nova a bit.
Exactly. Yeah, you root for her through pity. Yeah.
And then Zira and Cornelius are rational heroes, if there are any. Absolutely.
Yeah. And even Cornelius needs to be bought into this, right? Because as an archaeologist who knows what he's found, he's having a crisis of his own faith too, which is not something that I think that's underserved in this movie.
Yeah.
But he knows Zira was always certain that one of these humans was going to end up becoming smart, right? Whether it was through training or through nature. Cornelius already knows they've already been there. But he can't, what's he going to do? I mean, it's like if he makes a stink about it, he's going to be cast out and he's going to be a heretic. He doesn't really want to believe that what he found was real. So, like, he's got a lot of internal strife going on in this. I think the best actor in this whole thing is Kim Hunter.
She
does things like she looks like she scrunches her face at times, and it emotes so much through that makeup that, like, she's the first person I always think of when I hear Planet of the Apes. I always think of Zira first.
So it's kind of a funny story about her. I when I was doing some initial research on the Most Dangerous Game and all of the movies that have been derivative of that story, I came across this little movie called The Seventh Victim because I thought it was originally based on the short story The Seventh Victim, which was later made into the movie The Tenth Victim, right? That we covered on this podcast. But it's not at all. It's this really cool like film noir from like I think 49 or something. And it's kind of sort of a prequel to the original Cat People. Which is really interesting, but it's kind of wild. Like it's all like deals with this like satanic secret society and stuff, and it's really dark. And it was kind of originally devised as a prequel to Cat People from 1942. So actually, I think this was 39, The Seventh Victim.
43.
43. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. So it was like made right after. But anyway, it's a cool movie, and she's really great in it. It's her very first film role.
Yeah. Well, and she won an Oscar.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, she's no joke here.
I just recently watched her in the Powell and Pressburger film, A Matter of Life and Death. She's the female lead in that. And man, she's good. Like, she's awesome. I mean, I've just kind of recently discovered her.
Yeah, yeah, you know, it's like I know her mostly from Planet of the Apes.
Sure.
And 2 of the sequels.
Matter of Life and Death is kind of wild because it's sort of kind of the precursor to Albert Brooks's Defending Your Life in a lot of ways. Like Defending Your Life isn't credited as a I guess a remake of it, but it kind of is in a lot of ways. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent there.
Yeah. Well, no, that's allowed. All right. So yeah. So basically, you know, Taylor, you know, he's kind of making his recording, and he's like basically opining about how much he pretty much despises the human race. He hates how they, you know, go to war. They hate all the things, you know, and he's saying a whole bunch of things that's like, yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, and what's kind of funny is a lot of what he's saying, we understand today as being things that people who claim to be religious will do to each other. And then what's he run into? He runs into a bunch of zealotry around whatever these, you know, whatever the faith of these apes are. And it's kind of bearing the truth of the very same thing. Like I don't believe that Dr. Zaius would have any desire to help out his fellow ape if it really came down to it. If his neighbor's kids were hungry, I don't think he'd feed them.
You know, you kind of get that impression, but you sort of understand his motivations a lot better later in the third act.
Oh,
because he's holding a lot back. He's the defender of the faith, but also the like chief scientist, right?
Right.
So already that's kind of in a conflict, right? Yep. And Charlton and Taylor points that out, but you kind of get to the point where you sort of understand why, because there's a really key piece of information that he's holding back from people, from apes.
Well,
that he doesn't think they can handle hearing, because yes, it would fly in the face of this religion that has been kind of constructed to keep their sense of superiority over humans. But in reality, like, humans are there. It is known that humans have existed before and are a lot more dangerous than they may appear,
right,
in their current state. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, he puts himself to sleep. We get the really trippy, opening credits with the, Jerry Goldsmith Oscar nominated score, which much like with the some of the Star Trek the Motion Picture score uses different things for instruments. And I mean, it's a good score.
It is a good score.
It really, it's one of those things where you're almost surprised that it got appreciated, 55 years ago or whatever, because it would have been so different, and it's almost there. It comes off as experimental in several of the pieces.
For sure. It feels alien.
Exactly.
Right? Which I'm sure was part of the attempt there, right? Is to create something otherworldly. And I think it succeeds.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so they crash into the water on what appears to be a desert planet. So like they landed on Tatooine, except for there is some water. It's not some poor kid having to dirt farm the water out of the thing. And this is when you really get to, I mean, first of all, you see that, what's her name? Julie, the backseat driver, dies.
Oh, yeah. Stewart,
yeah.
she kind of looks like one of those like life sucked zombies from Life Source, or from Life Force. Yeah,
Force. Yeah,
from Life Force. She kind of looks like one of those.
She kind of does. Yeah, and Taylor has no sympathy. It's like there was a defect. Whatever. She's dead. Let's move on.
Yeah.
It's like. What are we sitting around, worried about this? And he does see on the chronometer that it is November 25th, 3978, which is 2006 years after the departure. And that's, and that's, again, most people don't understand time dilation today because of Star Wars and Star Trek. Whenever I see time dilation spoken about in like old media like this, it's like, that's fucking impressive that they understood that. But yeah, it's so they and Taylor, he tells Landon, it's like everybody you've ever known, it's like generation after generation has turned to dust. Nothing's there for you to go back to. In fact, I think he's kind of implying that the only people who give two shits about what they're doing now is the three of them. Like, everything is forgotten about them.
Well, hell, even Stewart, he's like, she's been dead a year. It's not worth.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, this is just moments for you, though. Like,
right.
How do you span centuries in your mind? Crazy man. He's a lunatic.
Oh,
he is a lunatic. Totally.
And he if you don't think he's a lunatic already, his guffaw over the planting of that is the most Charlton Heston moment of Charlton Heston's life.
It's pretty funny though. I do see the humor in that too. Like he's like, this guy just doesn't get it. Nope, he just doesn't get it. And yeah, he's kind of being a dick about it, but that's pretty funny. That's pretty damn funny. It's like, yeah, buddy, you got a lot of catching up to do.
The fact that the guy even had an itty bitty little flag to do that with, not the big gesture, just the itty bitty little flag. Love it.
Yeah.
So so basically they have to go find food. They have 3 days worth of groceries, as he puts it. So it's like, we got to go find something. And Dodge has already determined the sand, the soil next to this water is useless.
Yeah.
Nothing could grow there. It's not dangerous, but there's nothing that can grow in it.
Yep. So they just Taylor just picks a direction at random. He's like, let's go that way.
Let's go that way. And they walk across what seems to be the salt flats. With the really weird, I wish there was more spoken about the lightning, because they bring it up about the luminescence of the lightning and how when the lightning strikes, it makes it look like it's nighttime, even though it's daytime.
Would you assume that nothing from 2 applies here? Or are they trying to call back in the second movie to this lightning is...
I don't think they know what they're going to do yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, I think you can explain it that way, right? Like it's
it's like a happy accident, or it's like something that they just a small idea that they took and ran with in the second one, maybe.
Yeah. I think the whole purpose of that lightning is to make it seem like you're not on Earth. You're not on Earth, audience. Yeah. Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, we pulled the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
I think it's entirely meant because even later when Taylor's talking about like, you know, what could have happened to the human race, when he's talking to Zira and Cornelius about it, he says, based on what I saw, I'd bet on a meteor striking the Earth and wiping out the human, you know, the human civilizations that were here.
Another way that the movie's trying to take you away from the idea that this could possibly be Earth is, I mean, Taylor even says it. He's like, the navigational calculation or whatever, it says we're orbiting some star in Orion. Like Bellatrix. He gives like this, this Bellatrix, like this really elaborate navigational calculation, and you need to do that shit.
I think that's where they were supposed to go, but you're right. It's not, you know, I'm curious if Bellatrix is really 300 light years. Anyway. They
start kind of walking through this canyon, and you start seeing these humanoid shapes up on the cliffs.
Yeah, I like
kind
those.
Of following them, and of course, the movie's called Planet of the Apes, so as an audience member, you're kind of squinting. It's like, are those the apes? What are they? They're actually humans. But they find water. They dump into the.
Well, they also have the scarecrows up there too.
That's right. There were scarecrows, and Taylor says something about not being afraid of no ghosts.
Ghosts.
Yeah, I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
And
he does climb up the ridge.
Screw the scarecrows.
Screw them. I'm gonna go get Dick out and go into that.
We'll go
waterfall.
Go do some swimming in the waterfall. They all get all butt naked and go swimming, and all.
There were times where it's like one of these guys is going to be flopping to the side, and we're going to catch them. No.
I was surprised. They kind of did keep it pretty well hidden until later when like Heston's ass is just hanging out right there. Yeah. Like later in the movie, it's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess they don't.
Well,
care that
much about you see both. You see all three of their asses in this movie.
A little bit. It's quick, but it's not quick later. It's just like right there. But there's a scene where they realize all their shit is stolen, and the two of them like kneel down in front of.
Oh my God!
Did you know what I'm talking about?
Double blowjob coming.
Yeah. Right. I was like, whoa, that's an unfortunate framing of that shot. That does not look right.
It's fortunate for who was it? I don't remember if it was Dodge
Taylor.
or
It was Taylor who was standing. Yeah. Real shit-eating grin on his face. You know.
Oh God, that'd be
That's
great.
That's not the Heston we learned to not love later.
I wanna cut in his laugh from earlier in the movie right there as they're like kneeling down.
God. Oh my God, that would be perfect. That would be perfect. That would be so good. But I was seriously like, "Whoa, what is going on here?" But all their clothes are gone, and they
get shredded too.
Yeah, they're following the trail of all of their clothes, and then they realize that some people took them, and they're chasing after them, and then they find themselves in a clearing, and they kind of just ramshackle together some clothes, like some shredded pants and stuff, and they go after the. They look for they kind of observe the state.
Because like they're climbing up a tree to get what looks like papaya, but papaya doesn't grow in trees, does it?
Anyway, some kind of fruit.
Kind of fruit. Like one guy's in the tree and he's chucking them all down to the guys on the bottom. And Taylor does notice Nova. I mean, she stands out in this crowd. This is a pretty this is a pretty motley crew, and then Linda Harrison just kind of stands out.
It's a bunch of neckbeards and Linda Harrison.
Yeah, and she's got shaved legs. It's like she's obviously smarter than the rest of them somewhere along the way. She's figured out some way to keep that hair not tangled up, and So yeah, like the rest of them practically look like they bathe in their own shit, but she's like clean. And Taylor's like, check that out. But he does say something kind of important here. It's like, if this is the best they've got, we'll be ruling this place in a month. And again, it kind of shows he's one of those types of people who, if you don't think the way he thinks, you're useless to him. He wants to rule and control people. He doesn't pity people. He doesn't, like, all those things that he said at the beginning of the movie don't really ring true to what he would really do. Like, I don't think he minds helping a fellow human, but I don't think he is as altruistic as he even thinks he is himself. Because the first thing he thinks of when he sees these people is, we can rule this place. That's some villain shit.
Yeah, I mean, he is a villain. He is the villain, and the story is told from his perspective.
Right. I mean, the funny thing is that if the people who don't show up here in just a moment on the horseback don't show up, he is the villain of this movie.
It would be like Rod Serling-ish anyway. Yeah. Like, I don't even think the people that show up on horses are necessarily the villains. I don't think Dr. Zaius is a villain. He is the closest thing we have in this movie to a villain, in all honesty, Taylor.
Yeah. I mean, I think with like traditional, like actually caring about others. Yeah, he would be.
Linda Harrison, by the way, married Richard Zanuck.
Yeah.
They were married for 10 years. Kind of wild.
Yeah.
The year after this movie came out. So, Richard Zanuck married Nova. Lucky dog.
Yeah. So yeah, basically they hear a noise and it sounds like it's like a horn, but it sounds like a screech. You know, like it sounds like somebody like blowing through like an animal horn. And they take off running. And this is where you see them run into like basically just a neatly little, well-kept rows of corn, basically. And you start seeing whips and things like trying to cut through the tall ears of corn. And these things on horseback come by, and there's a nice little reveal shot of some of the very best makeup effects in the history of anything. And that's you get to see the first gorillas.
It's really good in this movie. It's not really good in the next movie.
No, they had to cut back a little bit next time. But yeah, in this movie, it's I mean, there's the costuming and the makeup of the apes are, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, it's there was no makeup Oscar at this time, but they got the Oscar anyway for it.
Jeff gave it to him.
Yeah. Did they get some kind of like honorary Oscar or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only a few times with Dr. Zaius where I can be like, okay, that's a man's cheeks I can see coming through this makeup, but everyone else, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. For the most part, it was their eyes. And then they had like the like that.
But it blended in naturally.
Yeah.
Like there's a few times where I was like, okay, that looks like.
It really is incredible how expressive they can be with this makeup on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because like back when these were like re-released in the mid 90s or late 90s on VHS, the set came with a documentary, and I think it's called Behind the Planet of the Apes. And they were talking about like how they couldn't take the makeup off even to go eat. So like, first of all, it's like you have to try to figure out, like, the first few days, everybody was trying to figure out like how to, like, you know, use a utensil with the mouth, prosthetic and everything. And of course, most people would end up having just a shit ton of food like stuck in the mouth. So like when they took it off, it's like fucking corn and beans and shit in there. But one of the things that was said was that not long into filming, the different types of apes would split up and eat lunch together. They would almost segregate themselves. It's like, oh, that's the table of the gorillas, and that's the table of the orangutans, and that's the table of the chimpanzees. And then, like, I guess, like, I don't know, Charlton Heston and the director and like Linda Harrison, they had their own separate thing too. But yeah, I mean, after a while, you can kind of see, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. They have to basically for like 12 hours a day act like fucking apes. They probably started to really kind of just stick with whoever it was that they feel most comfortable with.
They don't really, though, which is one thing. I guess the evolution chain had gone so far. I do appreciate in the newer ones the more apish nature of.
Well,
like it would have been welcome here, I think, for them to have a little more mannerisms that were less human.
There are some that still like walk with like a little hunched over, or they kind of sway.
I just thought they were uncomfortable in their makeup, but you might be right.
I mean, there's some of that. I think that looks a little bit more obvious in the next one. When you're seeing a whole group of them like marching off the, you can kind of see them bobbing, more ape-like.
Yeah, right.
But then again, there's a reason why they need to look more different in next week's episode, because you really do have to. Anyway, we'll talk about that next week. So, so basically, there's a big raid, and this is just the daily life of the apes. They go out and they round up humans and they bring them back and they get experimented on. They get used for target practice. They get, they get killed like trophies. Like there's the one ape taking pictures of the ape standing over their kills. I like how some of the gorillas like laugh like dumb people do. Like, yeah. But yeah, so Taylor gets shot in the throat, which prevents him from being able to speak when he gets captured. But when he's taken to Zira's lab, this is when we meet Dr. Zira, and she's able to patch him up real nice, and she notices that there's something different about it. Like he clearly has more going on than the others. And she also notices that, wow, this Nova chick cleans herself up pretty well. She's probably special too. So we'll do our, we'll keep them separate from, the ones that look like they bathe in their own shit. And so basically at this point, for a little while, Taylor's trying to communicate, but he can't speak because he's still healing from his wound. He wants to, he's trying to show that he understands what she's saying by doing the same hand movements and stuff like that she is. But everybody else, basically thinks he's nothing special. He's just a dirty animal like the rest of them are.
Well, he even writes something outside in that one cave, and Zaius does see it.
Yep.
And he covers it up. He's like, nope, none of this shit. We're going to immediately take this man's brain out of his head.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah,
we need to eradicate this bullshit immediately.
Yeah. Is there anything we've got that will gooify his brain right now?
Yes.
Well,
Dr. Zaius.
Yeah. So Dr. Zaius is he's the minister of science and the keeper of the faith, of ape faith.
Uh-huh.
No conflict there, as Jason mentioned.
No, nothing to see here.
Well, as Taylor himself says
later,
yeah, it's like that's a contradiction, and to a certain extent, Zaius says, no, that's not. You know, and I think that in a lot of ways you see Zaius as kind of like, he's kind of like a Catholic Church type guy, right? Like, you know, it's like he's going to be quick to call something heresy. He's going to be quick to kind of, like you said, you got to eradicate that shit.
He's like anyone on the political spectrum that only uses evidence that supports their claim, right?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
It is. It is. It sure is.
But there's a reason. He is not willfully ignorant, right? I mean, he's
trying to protect people.
He thinks he's trying to protect his ape society. Yes, his ape people.
Apes. He's Apes and oranges.
Like he's that kind of villain where his insidiousness comes from the perceived notion that the people that he's protecting can't be trusted with knowledge, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, again, there is. You know, we've referenced this movie enough. I think we need to put it on the calendar at some point. But in a way, you know, it's like it's not like the religious idiots in Contact, right? Where they are just they feel like they are fighting against a lie. Well, meanwhile, you kind of like if there is evidence of life on another planet, how quick do you really want to explain that or to reveal that to people? Because some people ain't going to take it too well. Right. Now, some people are going to be like, yeah, of course. It's impossible to think that there isn't some planet out there that supports life. You know, like, I don't know if I necessarily need to see the dead body to think that, you know, but there are going to be some people who are not going to handle certain information right. Some people aren't going to handle the knowledge of, I am sure about a dozen times in our lifetime, particularly in the 80s, we were moments away from a nuclear war.
Or quicksand.
Or quicksand.
Definitely.
We were 3 steps away from quicksand all of our lives. You know?
We were, and maybe the threat of quicksand was there to help keep us from worrying about the threat
war.
of the bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's have the worry about this shit instead.
Yeah. Quicksand,
everybody. It's all about diversion, man. Diversion and fake news.
Uh-huh.
3 people died from quicksand today. Oh my god!
Oh my god! Quicksand! It's a menace.
Meanwhile, everything's just fine in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, we need to make an 80s type movie and put quicksand on trial. I want to do all sorts of trial movies, I guess.
Well, we got a trial coming up shortly in this movie.
Yeah.
So eventually,
what a coincidence! I said that. Sorry, go ahead.
So eventually, Taylor does get a like the pad of paper and pencil that Zero is always using to jot down her notes, and he gets beaten pretty good for it. But he's able to write down. It's like, my name is Taylor, to which Zero reads that and it's like, get a leash. I need to go take him home. And throughout this, we kind of learn a little bit more about like the ape society. The chimpanzees are kind of more the, you know, like they're kind of science minded. And they're doctors. They're kind of the learned group. The gorillas are grunts in the military, and the orangutans are the upper class. They are the government and the religious. What's the word I'm looking for there? The leaders of the religious part of it.
Yeah.
Even the great lawgiver that they all worship basically is an orangutan, which probably doesn't do a whole lot for gorilla or chimpanzee self-esteem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's like white Jesus, right?
Yeah, white Jesus.
Yeah.
Eventually in this land, someone's going to be like, no, the lawgiver looks like me.
Well, you know, you think that, but this planet is just a couple of days away from being destroyed. So
true.
They don't know it yet, but it is. So the and Taylor has discovered, so he knows that Dodge has been killed. He later discovers that he's been stuffed and put into the zoo or into the museum. And then a little bit later, he finds out that Landon was caught, but he's been lobotomized. But Taylor eventually gets away. And, Jason, do you laugh every time he has this one freak out in the jail cell?
The madhouse freak out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a 25-year-old inside joke.
Yeah. I do. He really does have freak out. It's
he does. So when he starts,
it's a madhouse.
So before that, he escapes and he's like running through the ape city and freaking everybody out. Kind of a classic scene where like, oh, you got like the mom and the kid, and the mom's like, oh, and all that stuff. And he eventually gets captured by the gorillas, and he says the line, "Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape." And everybody's
like, words he's spoken.
Yep. And it's like, he can talk. I can sing. I had to do the Simpsons thing. Sorry.
That's so good.
Yeah, I watched that before we started.
Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zayas.
So anyway, and so they've kind of, at this point, it's kind of funny because like, you really only see Zayas, like Zayas and Zira and Cornelius are talking about this, and it's like Zayas is like, you've trained him to do this. It's nothing more than just a trick. But what's funny is you don't really see anybody's else's opinion. Like the gorilla guy who's constantly spraying him down with the hose. Like he's just like, hey, shut up, you idiot. It's like he's not like, it's almost like he's not smart enough to understand what this is.
Yeah.
Like they've been briefed. They've probably been briefed.
But it's like, imagine if they had a chimpanzee today who just started like talking perfect English.
Fucking parlor trick. The doctor.
That's just a parlor trick. Yeah, they just taught him how to mimic humans.
Science is magic. You guys know that.
100% of talking chimpanzee would sound like Bob Hope, right? Or not Bob Hope. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of what's the
Johnny Carson?
No, the guy from.
I was just thinking George Burns.
That's weird. George Burns. That's exactly. George
Burns.
George Burns was exactly what I was saying, because the older he got, the more he reverted to his chimpanzee genes.
Poor George Burns. Jeez.
I know, but I don't know. That was in my brain too for some reason.
Oh, Jenny, you devil.
I mean, I went from Bob Hope to George Burns too. I don't know how, but I did.
What just happened to your voice?
I don't know. I think I've got the bullet wound or something.
Yeah, you got the bullet. Taylor.
So like they basically are trying to punish him at this point, and they're just kind of being cruel to him. They take Nova away from him, and he says he's been like cooped up for. Did he say weeks?
He says it's been weeks when he sees
Zira for the first
Cornelius
time.
And Zira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why haven't you been here? It's been weeks or whatever. So yeah, and like all the while, my assumption is that they barely feed him. They hose him down constantly. He screams that it's a madhouse all the time. He can't get laid anymore. And they probably say really, really, really gross things to him. It's probably an internet comment section going on at this point.
But yeah, they put him on trial to find his origins, right?
Yep.
And we don't know this now, but you can kind of surmise that Dr. Zayas knows something's up beyond what he's saying, right? The rest of them, no. They're all convinced this is a parlor trick. He's not. Like, or Or you came, well, no, it's only Dr. Zaius. It's like, you came from somewhere else. Tell me where you're from. Quit this bullshit about your space shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, tell me where you're from and I'll save your life, basically.
He even says that, like, yeah, you cannot have gone. I mean, both he and Cornelius tried to disprove that he could have walked through the Forbidden Zone. Right. Because nothing could have lived long enough to get through the Forbidden Zone. Cornelius has flown too close to the sun, we find out too, because he did find that cave because he is an archaeologist. Fucking Indiana Jones over here. Yeah. Found that cave to which
Norleanda? No, never mind. Keep going.
Cornelius Jones and the Temple of Talking Dolls. Yeah. And Dr. Zaius shut that shit down. Like the moment that he came back with his findings or what he found, Zaius revoked his license to be able to go out there or whatever, his pass. So yeah, I mean, so it's like, and Cornelius tries to say that where he says he came from has to be true. I've been to the Forbidden Zone, to which Cornelius is like, he's been reprimanded for that, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I wish Dr. Zaius would talk like that. But he well, and then like Cornelius goes, or Zira, is it Zira or Cornelius who starts in on the big diatribe about, I think it's Zira, and the three guys do this: see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil.
Yeah. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of goofy.
A little on the nose, ears and mouth.
A little bit on the nose, yeah.
Ears
and mouth.
Yeah. So yeah, but basically it's like they're not even willing to hear that there could be some other thing but what they've built their society on, their religion on.
Huh. That never happens anywhere.
No, never. That never happens. So at this point, it's like, yeah, first of all, the first thing, we didn't even talk about this. The first thing they wanted to do to Taylor was castrate him.
Yeah.
So it's like, there ain't going to be any more of these guys hanging around. But then they want to cut his brain up. Now, what's interesting is that after the trial, Dr. Zaius brings Taylor into his office to have this conversation that, this is when Zaius like basically reveals to Taylor, it's like, yeah, I know what you are. It's like, I knew this was going to happen. And meanwhile, there's just a couple of gorillas standing outside a relatively drafty door. If you notice, there's a lot of space between the door and the frame. It's like, you don't think those two gorillas outside are like, can you hear this?
No, they were in hear no evil mode.
Oh, okay. They went. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so it's like at this point, he's like,
Zaius is like, you have 6 hours to tell me where you come from, or else your brain gets turned into pudding.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then he puts
scrumptious pudding.
He puts him back in his cage, to which time somebody else, the nephew, we find out, comes in and is like, hey, we got to move this guy to the zoo because
Lucius,
he can talk. We can't destroy that. We got to let people see it, and then blah blah blah.
I like this. He says the Office of Animal Affairs.
Yes.
The Anti-Vivisection Society is up in arms. That's pretty good. I like that.
They all said, he can talk, he can talk, he can talk. Anyway.
But yeah, he kind of mimics to Taylor, like, hey, I'm going to put him against the bars. You hold him, and I'll knock his ass out. And they do. They knock him out. He gets released. Taylor, refuses to leave without Nova.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't leave without Nova either, probably.
We're not talking about a Chevy Nova. We're talking about the Nova.
I've seen the other women on this planet. You're bringing this one with
I've already found the best one, and she's coming with me.
I found the only one. She is our new Eve. By the way, there is supposedly a scene in which, we do find out she is pregnant. There are some
G-rated.
Well, that probably would have made.
That might have been too a step too far because there was no marriage.
In Airplane was PG.
Marriage.
In Airplane, it was PG, and there was tits in that. So
yeah,
that was like
so
13
bare
years later.
Was okay. Tits was a PG.
They probably just said this. I don't know. This kind of looks like a nature film. G.
I mean, quite honestly, I find it refreshing in some ways because the nudity is so like non-sexual, right?
Right.
It's just nudity.
That's why I'm saying they probably saw it like similar to a nature film, right?
Right. I was just kind of surprised.
Well, it's like Wonder Woman and that Vinegar Syndrome release. You have a swimming scene with like 3 nude women, and it's rated PG.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's well, I mean, the next movie is rated G, and there's a guy who
in
gets
some ways that is honestly like I wish that because it's not exploitatively shot, right? No. It's not like the camera pans up and down Taylor's ass,
and there's a whistle in the background.
Now I was a little concerned when they got down on their knees earlier, but. That might have just been my own corrupted brain.
That's your own hang up, buddy.
I'm concerned. Like, what are we doing here?
He was all like, "Get your hands on me, you damn dirty apes."
Oh, God. Plant your flag here.
That's straight to R. Plant your flag here. Oh, my.
Right he up turns in around and he's got the American flag stick out of his cheeks.
I mean,
that would have been all audiences
Roddy
not
McDowell
rated
is in this movie, and he's not even close to the gayest thing.
Well, I mean, again, they lost Stewart in the crash, so I mean, come on, it's what are they gonna do? You know,
they turned that way in like 3 hours.
Yeah, it didn't take long. After a long hike,
like there's no women, there's nothing here. We gotta fuck each other.
Does that settle like the nurture versus nature argument? I'm joking.
Lots thematically happening here.
He is also imprisoned a lot too. So I'm sure if there wasn't a Nova, he'd be like, "I'd take the guy with the shortest beard. You're coming with me, buddy."
Yeah. I'm sorry, his lap is something else.
It truly is.
How bottom teethy he is. Like he's very bottom teethy.
But it's
toothy. Like his jaw is just like it's like in 3D almost. I had to check my glasses to see if they were like red and blue when I was watching it. Anyway,
oh boy.
So he heads out to and takes Cornelius and Zira and Lucius out to the dig where Cornelius found some pretty interesting stuff. And Dr. Zaius and some apes, specifically, what was the, I guess he didn't. Did he not have a name? I guess
I don't think so.
Huh.
Unless his name was Stand Down. I don't think he had one.
No, I guess not. Yeah, they just say hunt leader. Okay, I guess they don't start naming apes until next movie. Or naming gorillas until next movie. They're just a bunch of grunts anyway. So he takes some groups out to follow. And basically there's kind of a showdown and Charlton Heston tricks the apes by shooting his gun and then going, "Cornelius, Zira." And like they're like, oh, that apparently he shot himself.
Oh no, wait, hold on. I have to stop you for one moment because we didn't talk about this. They go into the cave with Zaius.
Oh, that's right.
Cornelius presents.
You're right. Yep.
Presents all the evidence of what he's found in the past, and Dr. Zaius is like, "I'm not fucking buying this shit. I could come up with." Go ahead. Jeff, well, you look like you're ready. You're going to count on your fingers.
If you keep digging, you'll find an ape that lived in this family.
Right. That's what Zaius concludes. But there's a doll, a dressed doll of a human girl. There is a heart valve. So that guy is fucking dust. And
spectacles.
And there was a false teeth. Yeah. And
it was me.
Sorry. And Taylor says that this guy, he was in pretty bad shape. Apparently, it's like
just like we were.
And then that's when Zaius is like, if you dig a little deeper, you will find the remains of an ape. And he's like, okay. Well, then immediately, this is why. It changes the scene if you know that Nova is pregnant, because she takes to that baby doll immediately, and she's like, mothering it, and she drops it, and then that's when it goes, Mama. And he's like, a doll that talks?
Would a ape or whatever he says, I think ape, make a doll that talks? And Zaius is like, and then shooting starts. A human doll that talks, yes.
Yeah, and so
I'm pretty sure in the history of mankind we've made we've made ape dolls that talk, so maybe.
Yeah, they all sound like George Burns.
We're not trying to suppress the fact
on his cigar.
We're not trying to suppress the fact that gorillas used to dominate us. Yeah.
Yeah, and we anthropomorphize things all the time. It's like almost all of our cartoons. I mean, fucking
we did it for this movie.
Yeah. Yes.
But
there's a whole fucking franchise built on the concept. No, that's good. So anyway, so that's when the shooting starts, and they run outside because the concern was that Lucius, who is Cornelius's or Zero's nephew,
one of them, yeah.
And it's like, he's a kid, but it's just basically a warning shot to basically get him to surrender, and that's when they pull the trick, and then he ends up grabbing Dr. Zaius, and it's like, you're gonna let me and Nova GTFO.
Mm-hmm.
And Zaius issues the warning that you're not gonna like what you're gonna find.
Right, even though he just told them you guys made a desert of.
Sure.
I'm wondering what else he thinks he's going to find that's worse.
He might as well have winked at the audience on that one.
Yeah.
That's like, wink, wink, audience.
Yeah.
You ain't going to like what he's going to find.
Yep.
So he makes his way off down the coastline. And we get the big twist ending.
How effective was this? Has anyone looked into whether this stunned audiences at the time? Because it feels like you're led right to it. I don't know how big a twist there really is.
Well, but I think it was. I think the general audience was quite taken with the ending. Otherwise, I don't think the ending would have had the popularity it's had over the last.
Sure. Because I remember seeing this as a kid, in that, since Rod Serling wrote this, the episode of, oh my God, not Tales from the Dark Side. What's his show?
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. Thank you, Jesus. Where the little astronauts are on the planet.
You're welcome, my son.
Yeah, where the little astronauts are on the planet. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
And then you find out that they're the humans.
Yeah.
That is way more effective to me. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is I think I think we were always supposed to believe that they're just on another planet, like you would have seen in Star Trek or on Lost in Space.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely supposed. I was just curious if audience at the time were blown away by it, and it sounds like since it's in the zeitgeist, most likely. So,
I mean, at the very least,
it was a pretty big twist ending.
I mean, I think if nothing else, it would have been thought of as at least, oh, that's clever. That's clever. This is, not maybe not a surprise, but that's better than what we would have, and well, no, you know what though? There is a reason why Zaius would say that. He tells Zaius that he's from Earth. So and if Zaius knows the history of what happened to mankind, he would have known they called the planet Earth.
And he probably knows what he's going to see in 2 miles.
Right, because Zaius is probably have seen in probably some sort of I don't know, Masonic temple or something. He's been shown picture books of the Statue of Liberty and knows that this is Earth and, all of that.
Or he has no bounds. He could have gone there himself. But yeah, they find the Statue of Liberty, and Taylor does have the realization that we dropped the bomb.
Yep. They finally did it.
They finally did it. We get to relive that next week, too. Yep. They finally did it. They fucking destroyed us all with the bomb.
Damn you all to hell.
And he is, I mean, that is some.
They've already done it, Taylor.
Yeah, his handprints are still on that beach, wherever it is.
He beat that into fucking cement.
Yeah. I hope his Walk of Fame star is just his fist. That would be pretty cool.
At the Grauman's Chinese theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love how this movie ends with just the ocean waves. Sit on that for a little bit.
Silent, no score. Yeah.
So, a couple of things about this movie. First of all, I've kind of mentioned this to you, I think, off air. The book is a lot of the same concepts were directly adapted. There are a couple of different things. In the book, it is a much more contemporary civilization. They have cars. They have they have suits and dresses and things that you not like what they. It seems like they wear more functional type of clothing. Certainly color coded.
So we caught them later in there.
Yeah, the book is they are. It's basically as if Ulysses, who is the main character in the book, just went from 1958 or whatever year Earth to 1958 Earth, but it's it's apes instead of people. The people that he is with, one of them, I don't remember what happened to the third, but one of them goes primitive. He just feels like it's so much more free to just be one of the grunting humans than it would be to be burdened with our knowledge, basically. And he just goes off and joins now Ulysses is, he meets up with Nova, and he is kind of treated like a celebrity for a little while, but that eventually begins to sour. So he and Nova, who is pregnant, decides that for the safety of himself and for their kid, they're going to use the same ship that they got there with, or that he got there with, and they're going to leave and hopefully find Earth. And when he gets back to Earth, he does land at the Eiffel Tower. Everything looks normal until a military jeep pulls up and it's being driven by an ape. And he's like, fuck this. So he ends up out in the space. And what he does is, hoping to find just some other place for them to live. And the whole story is told in flashback because he's written it all out and put it into a bottle and threw it out into space. And it turns out that the people who found it were wealthy apes who read it and was reading it out. And then the bigger twist at the end is, oh, this is preposterous. There's no such thing as an intelligent human. And they just completely and totally disregard the whole story. So it kind of has two twists at the end. And there is the attempt with the 2001 version to kind of end it like the book, but it makes no real sense to do that the way they did it. Because
we don't even need to talk about that
anyway.
But leave it in the past.
One other thing about this, so I just texted a friend from high school, Dan. He and I, for a little bit period of time, were kind of obsessed with this movie in high school. And any time in our junior year that we had to do like a German thing in our German class, we would figure out a way to put in German that we were watching Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
I feel so bad for our German teacher. She was a nice lady, but she probably hated us. No, she hated the whole class.
How do you say Planet of the Apes in German? Then you should remember.
No, that was like 30 fucking years ago. I don't remember. I don't remember much of anything in German. So,
Octaliber Augustine.
Okay, right back at you.
What was that?
Octaliber Augustine. All is kaputt. I don't remember what it means.
Well, all is kaputt is everything's broken.
No, I know, but I can't remember what Octaliber Augustine. It's a song we used to sing. I'm surprised you guys aren't familiar with it.
Affen.
Okay, whatever.
I've been there often.
Planet der
I have been every time I take my shirt off.
Yeah, Planet der Affen.
I like it.
So anyway, we would say we would talk about that all the time. I texted them. Oh, I heard that.
I thought you farted.
No, I texted Dan before we started recording saying that we were gonna be talking about this for our April episodes, and he wrote back saying that he and his wife are starting their rewatch so they can be ready for the new movie. So,
Octaliber Augustine means, "Oh, you dear Augustine, all is lost."
How about?
Sorry, I had to clear that up.
Okay, excellent.
This is good. This is a good movie. I like this.
This is a good movie. Like anything in the late 60s, it's going to be a little bit dated. It's going to be a little ham-fisted at times. But at the same time, I mean, it has a lot to say, right? It has a lot to say about what, because there obviously is an angle there about superiority, being good shepherds of the world you've basically are running. There's a lot there about that. Next week we get a little bit more directly into war.
A little bit.
And by a little bit, I mean a whole lot.
Nimm deine schmutzigen Pfoten von mir, du verdammter dreckiger Affe.
Okay, right back at you.
I think we've been listening to Film Seizure.
So anyway,
that was "Get Your Dirty Paws Off Me, You Damn Dirty Ape" in German.
Nice.
It's almost not loud enough.
It doesn't sound right for a woman to be saying. It's like I need it to be grunted out.
Hold on, let's try and get this closer.
Oh no, you're gonna make them play it again in a different voice.
Nimm deine schmutzigen Pfoten von mir, du verdammter dreckiger Affe.
Nice.
Sounded like she said something about Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I mean, that's what it sounded like. So, Jeff, what's up?
So next week, April 10th, we go beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Literally.
Yeah. And figuratively, we kind of peel off some layers also.
A little bit.
A little bit of faces.
That's about to get weird, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God. This isn't the weirdest this series gets. So,
oh no.
Anyway, so that is next week. That's April 10th. If we are around, because we are going to be directly under an eclipse a couple of days before that. We might all be dead or monsters afterwards. I'm hoping for monsters.
Monsters would be good.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm hoping some Draculas show up.
Some Draculas. So that is at filmseizure.com. You can go there. You can find all the different places you can follow us, subscribe to the show, all of that goodness. And, follow us on the social medias and whatnot. This upcoming Monday, also at filmseizure.com and all those places that you can find at filmseizure.com. Monster Mondays is here with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde from 1931. That's a fucking damn good movie.
I love
so
movie.
Good. So good.
Like it blew me away.
Surprised it took me 275 episodes to get there, but here we are. Got to do what you got to do. So that is also filmseizure.com. This upcoming Friday at my website, bmovieeinema.com, you can read my review of 1980's Death Ship. It's about a ghost ship that's has got ghost Nazis on it.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a fan of Nazis, but ghost Nazis, they can be a bad guy in any movie.
That means they died once.
Yeah. And you got to kill them again.
Yeah. Double your pleasure.
Exactly. Double your fun. What's that in German? I got it. It's called killing Nazis.
Doppelganger.
Killing the Nazis. Anyway. So that is what's coming up. Until then, I'm Dr. Zayas.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.